Hi everyone, and welcome. This game against Fritz on a low setting starts out B2 to B3. I believe this is the Larson attack. Not really too much interest happening in the opening. On my third move, I decide to play knight to D7. So if the bishop decided to chip off on my knight, I could capture back with my knight. I put my queen on D7 to put more control on to E5. The computer makes his move with playing D4, and I opt to push to E4 and let his black bishop stay out of the game. When he moved his knight out onto the H file, I could have moved my knight off of D7 and played some defense against his knight, but I wasn't too worried about him moving his knight again. So I went ahead and developed my bishop to E7. He in return plays his knight to F5, forking the G7 pawn and threatening to capture the bishop and mess up my castle. I decided to finally move my knight off of D7 and leave the choice to the white knight. He takes with knight on G7 and checks, which is fine with me because I can utilize the open file. When he moved his knight back to the H file, I could have took it with my knight, but why help his queen's development? So I played my light squared bishop to get it out of my queenside's rook's way, because it will be coming over to the open file. He plays his bishop and I happily trade. My rook finally finds its happy home on the file. White decides his knight isn't doing much, so he might as well go ahead and weaken my army a little. White's queen comes into my position and puts pressure on my H pawn. He's going to try to tie down my rooks as long as he can. I decide that my queen needs to be a little closer to the action, so I play her to E7. White finally plays his knight because he's probably feeling the need for some defenders. I take the opportunity to harass his queen a little bit. After he moves his queen, I decide to start to find a safe spot for my king. White lines his rook up with the back of my pawn base. A slow plan, if you ask me. I finally get my queenside rook into the game. This will definitely revoke a response from white. He moves his king out of harm's way. I play F7 to F5 to improve my coordination. My queen is now protecting my bishop and my rook. White starts to get his pawns active on the queen side, but I'm not worried about it. I play my bishop back, once again trying to make the G-file an issue. He pressures my knight with C5, but in return I just threaten his queen. My knight retreats to safety, and white defends with the rook. I move my queen to F7 so she'd have an angle to the H file one day. His queen comes back to H8, back into my position. Another wasted move. I decide to threaten him with the G5 rook instead of the G8. I chose to do it with the G5 rook so I could completely flush white's queen off of the H and G files. Once he moved his queen, I felt like another rook lift was in order. I decided to use my rook to put more pressure on the dark H2 pawn. I picked this pawn because I still have a dark bishop. He plays his knight to F1 to defend it. I play my king up to protect my queen and take away any chances of white checking. White's queen grabs up the b7 pawn, a fatal mistake. After 2 rook sacrifices, my queen finally gets to come to the h file and check. After the king comes up to g3, I resist the temptation of playing bishop to f4, and I let my queen do all the work to keep his king off of f4. Whether the king retreated to h3 or h2, it wouldn't matter. The result would be the same because my bishop and queen are coordinated. The game is over. Thank you for viewing my first chess video and watching me beat Fritz on its easiest setting.